And we're back with more exciting adventures of the incredible Hokes. I am Chris.
I'm Mark.
Well, see, this is actually take two, but I'm not going to show y'all take one. I actually screwed it up because at last second, I went to say it. I was going to make some sort of comment that we did the Incredible Hokes Plus, which was with RJ and Jude, for somewhat Jude. And I was going to make a comment that we're back to Incredible Hoax or something, yes. And it all just went to absolute just train wreck. Okay. It just went crap. So that's why
it went off.
Maybe I'll leave it in there and just let them see that. I don't know. Okay. Oh, there's the mic showing. Is that professional? Is that not professional to see the mic? Now you don't see the mic. That's better.
That was not my, yeah. Okay. I'm excited, but not that excited.
And you are a white guy. You're not hiding anything. Speaking.
Well, manscaping. Okay. Take three.
The subject of the day is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I saw this movie. You've been busy. Hence, we've not done these in a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
You finally got around to see it.
Yes.
So we'll do spoilers free for a minute, then we'll not worry about that. So,
right.
Spoiler free introduction to your take on Once Upon a Time in ... Hollywood.
Yes. Yeah, Tarantino, I really he's getting older, and
that's not starting good.
No. I'm just saying, yeah.
Anytime a review begins with, well, he's getting older. She's still pretty to face, but it's not looking good for old Quentin, for Mark.
But his script had enough Cialis, and he was able to get across the finish line. Okay. Well.
Oh, wait, sorry. Cialis joke.
Yeah. I liked the movie. I would say that it seemed like it's a more mature kind of approach to some characters. Okay. So that's why I was going with the older Tarantino. Okay. I mean, he's shown some growth in terms of the maturity level there, and still patient. He never was a fast, cut kind of a director. No. And the patience there really rewards this film, particularly in the last hour, with the way things just kind of build. Brad Pitt is really terrific in the movie. Leo, of course, is solid, but Brad Pitt, I think, kind of, in a way, steals the show. Mm-hmm. What else do I like about it? But if you like his other movies and kind of the kind of unusual but just so right soundtracks that he comes up with, I think that's there as well. He has a knack for that. Looks like the man had a lot of fun making this movie, Tarantino. Looks like he had a lot of fun making it. So I quite enjoyed it. It's one of those movies that even the more I thought about it, it's grown on me. I'm tempted to give it 4 stars. It's at least 3.5 for me. I really enjoyed it.
Well, to me it was a 4-star. I made a little bit of a shock face because I was shocked you would give it 4 stars. But 3.5 is nothing to sneeze at or whatever. But anyway, so there it is. It's funny we're talking about it, and the commercial just come on TV. There's the commercial. Yes. You guys can't see it, but the commercials tell us to see it twice. Which actually I wouldn't mind going back and seeing it. By the way. Yeah,
that's what that is like a drama that it was so much fun. I would also like to go see it.
I liked it a lot. Yeah. I liked it a lot. It was a little long in a few points. The movie itself didn't feel too long, but there were a few parts that were a little elongated. If that makes any sense. And
yes,
that sounds like a harsher criticism than what I ultimately mean, because the payoff, spoiler free, is so huge. You totally are okay with it. The payoff for me was so awesome, and I trusted it's one of those movies like you kind of like these say about Hitchcock. Hitchcock had, and Spielberg for that matter, I guess you could say about they've bought a certain amount of credibility that you're okay putting yourself in their hands.
Yes.
Yeah, you're taking your time, but I know you're going to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're going to go somewhere Hitchcock. I know you're going somewhere Spielberg. So it's kind of the same thing. I knew he was going to go somewhere, so I didn't worry about it. I just enjoyed the moment in the moment,
right?
Knowing all this was going to build to some sort of payoff, which it did.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to echo your Brad Pitt, dude. If he's not nominated for a supporting Oscar, there's no justice. I think he should win. I know it's early yet, but I can't imagine liking another performance of the year more than this one. He's so good.
Yeah.
Like, if he's not nominated, minimum,
right.
There's the credibility of the Academy. It will be even that much more deteriorated in my eyes. This will be one I'll remember years from now going, how could you overlook this one? And we'll be doing a show 5 years now. Overlooked Oscars. Brad Pitt and Once Upon a Time. He's so good. And what's amazing is he steals the show from so many amazing characters and people. He steals the show from Tarantino. He steals the show from Caprio. He's just, it's a legendary performance in my opinion.
Yeah.
But having said that, DiCaprio is really freaking good. He's the stutters and the eye ticks and the
right.
A lot of people aren't talking about that, but there's when he's off camera, he's a wreck. It's when the cameras roll that what's his name? I forgot the character's name.
Rick Dalton.
Rick Dalton.
Yeah.
Rick Dalton turns on the charm when the cameras roll, and outside of that, he's a flip.
Yeah.
He's a flipping train wreck.
Yeah.
And he does a great job showing that, the two sides. Like, he has the meltdown in the trailer and things like that. I loved it. Huge payoff, which we'll get into in the spoiler part. Great performances, well written. Production value is on point. One of the Tarantino technically doesn't get a lot of credit, and sometimes that's fine. If you look back at the Oscar nominations for his movies, rarely do you see a lot of technical nominations. Pulp Fiction, I think, was nominated for film editing, and then I think Inglourious Basterds might have had the most technical nominations of any of his movies. Hateful Eight, I think, had a cinematography nomination.
Okay. But
technically his movies don't get a lot of buzz. He's not a director that gets talked about in terms of visuals. Or you talk about Scorsese or Spielberg, you talk a lot about the visuals. Tarantino's not a visual filmmaker per se. You know what I mean? He's not going for lens flares and beautiful sunsets and things like that.
Not in the way you would think of like a David Lean or a John Ford with a very picturesque.
Yeah.
Not in that way.
And not even a David Fincher where every scene is composited meticulously, and things like that. He's more of just a
or like the Coen brothers, everything's very precise.
Yeah.
Quirky, but precise.
Yeah, it has a reason. That angle and that framing is for a reason on every shot.
Right.
Tarantino, a lot of times, he's just sort of just shooting it for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's what you would expect, master.
But I mean, he's good at finding the movie. He goes around, the Hollywood Hills, and he's finding what really is appropriate for his story. And there's a lot of tracking shots too, more so I think than any of his other movies, maybe except for the Death Proof, which obviously they're driving around in a car, so there's a lot of tracking shots like that. But there's a lot of that kind of tracking. We're looking at Cliff, Brad Pitt's character, as he's going up and down the streets and all that. And there's quite a lot of that. But I mean, it kind of leads to something. So.
Yeah,
it's very thoughtful directing.
Well, to sum up to sum up where I was going with the technical aspect of his movies, this one, like, I felt was like it stood out. The production values, like, oh my God, how do you not nominate this for best production design? It's so meticulous a recreation of that time period. I mean, it felt so authentic. It was crazy how authentic the movie felt. The signage and the clothes and.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a shot where the girl lays down and Brad Pitt's laugh. I got to laugh when I saw it. She throws her arms up in her hairy armpits. That's not production design, but you get the idea. The detail.
Yeah, the detail, right.
Is there. Anyway.
Well, I was amused by the fact that there are certain locales that are filmed that, Hollywood being where they make these movies, especially the first 50 years of Hollywood's existence, there's a lot of local areas that have gotten filmed a lot. Mm. There's one scene where there's an oil drill going off in the background. Well, that's been shot in some, cop dramas. I recognize it. It was even in the third Planet of the Apes movie, the Escape from Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
I was like, wait a minute, there's that oil. And then there's one scene where he goes and walks the dog, Cliff does in the end, and it's the same hill that they do the dance on La La Land between Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone. Okay. Same hill.
Okay.
But that didn't distract me. I just thought it was cool. It was definitely Hollywood area. So this is a guy that he's done his homework, and these are areas that are familiar to the region. Yeah.
He definitely he's geeked out on locations for sure.
That just tells you I've watched way too much TV and movies to know that.
Well, it's Incredible Hokes.
There you go.
That's what we do. Spoilers now?
Yeah, ready.
All right, spoilers starting now. Although the movie's been out 3 weeks, you should have seen it by now. If it was that big a deal.
Okay.
Spoilers. So the ending. So we do an Inglourious Bastards here, where we change history.
It's an alternate universe.
It's alternate history, which Tarantino doesn't like that phrase. I saw a thing. He says I know a lot of people call it alternate history, and that's what they want to call it. That's fine. I'm not a problem with that, but that's not really what I'm going for. He's like, mine is it's an hypothesis. He said with Inglourious Bastards, what I'm saying is, if these characters really existed, this was a plausible outcome. Which, well, yeah, that's called an alternative history.
That sounds like a Tarantino answer, but alternate universe is still the correct thing.
I think it's part of the whole conceit that and I don't mean that in a negative way.
No.
But that's the whole thing of if I could have been there, shit would be different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's where it maybe come from, but yeah, it ultimately means alternate history. So in the movie, the Manson murderers, Rick Dalton, Leonardo DiCaprio, lives next door to Sharon Tate
and Polanski,
and when the Manson murderers show up, they pull into the drive. DiCaprio is like, get this shit bucket out of here. Not now, but yesterday. They decide to retarget and decide to go for DiCaprio, Rick Dalton's character, because they think it'd make a statement of killing this actor who made a living off of making violent material.
Mm-hmm.
And they, much to their own chagrin, what happens, Mark? I'll let you have the pleasure of telling them what happens.
Well, little do they know that this actor had a friend. His name was Cliff, and that friend also had a badass dog named Brandy, who damn near almost gets a special Oscar herself.
Brandy's my new favorite movie pet of all time.
That was awesome. They basically go to the wrong freaking house, and they just don't know who they're dealing with. And I like the almost death by canned good. That was awesome. I really like that. But yeah, for some people, it was too violent and all that. Like,
oh, fuck that.
Then don't go. Then don't go. It's a radar movie. Can we
There's Tarantino. What was it? There's a famous Tarantino quote. He says, "Going to one of my movies and saying it's too violent is like going to a Metallica concert and saying it's too loud."
And if they were really paying attention, I mean, I've only seen it once, but there's a lot of scenes where you're hearing the growling and the screaming in the background, but you're not actually seeing anything.
Yeah,
it's all in the back. So again, it's like Reservoir Dogs. People imagine they're seeing something, and they're seeing less than they think.
The brain fills in the gaps.
But Cliff's character, just total former war veteran and former stuntman, just
annihilates them.
Yeah, just kicks their ass.
And then one of them goes out and ends up in the pool where Rick Dalton is just chilling. And he has a surprise for them.
Yes. It's a fiery surprise.
I literally clapped when he did that.
Oh, I did too.
I was like,
yeah,
that was the greatest.
And I didn't care. I was the only one in the theater that did, but I clapped. I clapped. I didn't care.
I saw opening night with a crowd that was they were there. They were there to see a Tarantino movie, so they were into it. So it was pretty good.
I was in a small crowd, and yeah, they were. I think people had smiles on their face when they left, so I think they had a good time.
It's a good movie. So, where does it stand? Let me hold off on that question. I like this movie. There's another movie I've talked about on the show before that I really liked that I first didn't like, but I warmed up to it. Now I love it, and I would pair this movie with that one, and that's Inherent Vice. P.T. Anderson's movie that was completely overlooked for the most part and didn't make any money. But Inherent Vice, I loved it because it took place in a similar time frame, and it was a detective movie. It was a hippie detective movie.
Yeah.
It was so original. I loved it. I loved the feel. I loved that world. So I could almost like see myself having like the Inherent Vice Blu-ray, and next to it having the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood Blu-ray of that hippie era counter era of the late 60s, late 60s hippie California, that whole vibe, but movies done in a really well. Like I think those movies pair really well. I know there's not really a question there, I guess.
Well, I mean, I could see, knowing you, I could totally see you going there. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of Inherent Vice, but this film, I guess my hesitancy, I guess initially to give it more than 3.5 was to do with it does kind of not try your patience, but it does ask a lot of you in the first 25 minutes or so, because you're like, what kind of movie is this going to be? And I intentionally wanted to stay in the dark about, and I try to do that with all movies. I don't want to be spoiled. I just
watch the trailers. I don't watch all the stuff.
Yeah, I might watch that, but I really want the movie to speak for itself.
Sure.
And so I had that experience, but the more I thought about it, such a resonance there. There's those early scenes there with the hippies dumpster diving, and we now know that it was the Manson children, and they're there. They're always kind of in the background for at least the first hour, doing stuff here and there, always around. But there's this kind of, especially if you know history, you kind of know where this is, what's going on, this dread there. And I think Tarantino effectively uses that, especially if you know the history. And if you're maybe under 30, you don't know this, maybe you don't get that element, but I think it was rewarding for me knowing exactly. So when she says Spawn Ranch, you're like, oh crud, you're just like, don't go there, dude, don't go there. And of course he does go there, so you're just, oh gosh, so you're tense the whole time. And when he's going to go check on the old man, and you're just like, oh gosh.
When he was, the whole scene where he's trying to get in to check on the old man, I felt the tension starting to really rise. And that's when Brad Pitt was doing some kick-ass work.
Oh yeah.
Brad and then he comes out, his tires flattened.
It just beats the piss out of
shit out of this hippie.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that was awesome.
That was great.
This is almost like it felt in some way Tarantino's, Gone Cartman a little bit in this movie. It was a little bit, and this might be getting far afield, but what the heck? Tarantino was involved with the Me Too. He did not per se. He was dragged in because of Weinstein, or how do you say his name? Harvey Weinstein, and the whole car crash thing with Uma Thurman. But he never got implicated that I know of in any kind of sexual impropriety. But he got dragged into the whole Uma, the car crash, and just being a friend to Weinstein. And we are in a woke, very PC. PC has now changed to woke the wokeness and SJW and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel like Tarantino might have been pushing back through this movie. I mean, this is not. This movie is not praising any kind of a traditional Hollywood ideals. This is a.
Right.
This is a tip of the cap to meat eating, cigarette smoking, slap the waitress on the ass type of Hollywood.
Well, it's the old school man's man. That phrase is what these characters are. The man's man, and
which is the truth. And he's not lying. He's telling the truth.
There was an era where that was a thing, and yeah, you could totally see someone like that not taking any guff off or being intimidated. Like, ooh, a hippie flattened my tire. You know, he'd stand for it. He sat there, decked him, and said, "Not only am I going to hit you again if you don't fix this tire." You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's the guy didn't just get off easy. He wasn't able just to kind of cry or moan or make an accusation and have the Brad Pitt character shrivel. You know, and it's that kind of attitude, and so I know he was kind of trying to capture that era, and before things got, you know, a lot more cynical in this nation, Watergate and all that. So I thought he did a good job on that level.
Yeah,
it's good. Well, the history of it, I mean, of course, he takes liberties of it, but I think capturing some of the types of characters and attitudes of the day, I think he was true to that.
It felt like that era.
Yes.
For what it's worth.
Yeah.
All right, last topic under Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Okay.
Where does it stand in the Tarantino catalog? Where do you rank this? You don't have to give me a 1 through 9 ranking, but
actually,
is this a top tier? Middle tier?
I would say for me, I would probably put this top tier because it's just such, it's so effective. It has the stars who have just great chemistry. They have that Paul Newman, Robert Redford kind of chemistry. They really do, and so much fun to watch. So I would have to say it'd be the top tier. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I've said it before on this show. My actual favorite Tarantino movie is Kill Bill Volume 1. It's most people will tell you Reservoir Dogs or Pulp Fiction, or they might say Inglourious Bastards. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, I fucking love Kill Bill Volume 1. That's my favorite. That's like, there's a 20-minute stretch that is pure perfection from the helmet down, through the end of the fight with in the House of Blue Leaves. House of Blue Leaves.
It's something like
that. Whatever it is.
We'll go with it.
That 20 minutes there, shit, that's perfection. There's like that's as good as anything ever made.
It's top notch.
So I would say top tier. Asterisk. Keep in mind, I don't know if I'm the traditional ranker of Tarantino movies. Like I would say Pulp Fiction would be not one, but most people will say Pulp Fiction's number one.
Yeah, of course it's my number one. But I really love Reservoir Dogs. This one would be one I would consider way up there. And believe it or not, and I said at the time when it came out, Hateful Eight, I gave 4 stars. I thought it was a great kind of it's almost like a one-act play. The way it's set up at one setting and everything happens right there. And I was really liked that movie.
Django Unchained gets more forgotten. Django Unchained never gets talked about that much.
And that was a good movie. Maybe because
it won 2 Oscars. Or at least 2 Oscars, maybe more. It won screenplay and supporting actor.
Well, tough subject matter. Probably.
It's not an easy movie to sit through.
No, so that might have had something to do with it.
I don't know if it's a Friday night and you're just, let me relax. I don't know if it's that movie or not. I don't know.
Well, it's a weird movie you'd want to talk to like your buddy and explaining why Samuel L. Jackson's character is like helping the slave owner. Like what? I don't think we want to. I just don't want to talk about it.
It's not an easy movie. It's not an easy movie. Death Proof is easily the last one to me. Death Proof.
Oh, sure.
Death Proof. On most people's list, people are going to put Death Proof at the bottom. It's definitely number 9.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be the least of these.
Yeah.
And the shame of it is Kurt Russell's so good at it, though. He's
Well, I like him a lot.
but you know.
It's got really cool moments.
Yeah. But it's...
I mean, the moment that the car, he hits the girls, that car, the tire rips off the girl's face. That's awesome. So well done. I mean, it looks so real.
Right.
But there's so much. I mean,
there's a lot of posture. That kind of posturing dialogue goes on way too much in that.
It's a lot.
And I know that he meant it as a smaller picture. So I've always kind of gave it a little bit of a break on that point. But at the same time, it's still the least of.
Well, I know after you go through all that, I mean, you're really patient. And, like, he's got the girl with the messed up nose. Mm-hmm. You kind of like her. The DJ chick. What do they call her? The weird name. It was the black chick, basically. Like, she was, like, tries your patience. Like, she's so not likable. The character, I mean. Okay. I don't know, the actress might be fine, but...
Right.
The character's so not likable. And you go through all that crap inside the bar... And then you see them die, and then what does he do? He starts all over again with a whole new batch of girls.
Yeah, and then takes forever to get us to know. It's like, well, we've got to know him as much as you know.
Goes on, and you're like,
and
oh
it
my
goes on
god!
forever.
I already sat through 30 minutes of dialogue with these girls.
Yeah,
I had one payoff. Now I got to start all over again, and you're just, oh my god!
That was yeah. That was not a good one.
Not a good one.
I mean, a movie like Jackie Brown, which I did like, is kind of on the lower end. But I saw it at the theater when it came out, and it was a packed crowd when I went, and everybody was kind of into it. So it's always one of those. It's like it's on the kind of the low rung there, but I still, for what it was, I thought it was okay. Yeah. It had some pretty neat moments in it, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it's good. Tarantino has some indulgences that sometimes. I think that's why, like, visually, he's never thought of as revered. He's more revered in terms of, like, story structure, dialogue, the way his actors or the places he gets his actors to go. He's never really thought of in terms of, like, cuts and cinematography and
right.
You know, Scorsese always has some interesting shots. You know, always finds new visuals, and you know, Tarantino doesn't really bring you that, and sometimes like he suffers because of that. You know what I mean? Because he indulges in these girls having an in-depth conversation about car movies, but it's not that particularly interesting to look at. So you're kind of just like,
right.
You know, and he indulges that he gives Zoe Bell, or whatever her name is, a lead part because he loves her so much as a stunt person. But in reality, she's not a lead.
No.
And he puts her in a lead position, so you're just kind of like, she's not that good. She's not really that charismatic. You're not into her that much. If this was some other girl talking like this, maybe I would pay more attention. Yeah. You know, if this is Emma Stone saying these lines, I'm probably more engaged than if it's Zoe Bell.
Well, and I've said this before. The Death Proof, the characters are talking like Tarantino.
Yeah,
and it's because we've seen enough interviews. We know how he talks. Yeah. And you just don't buy that these young ladies would talk like that.
Yeah. So the camera we timed out. We actually went on a Tarantino rant and timed out. So final thoughts. You have the final word on
final word.
Tarantino and or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is definitely. You got to see it, especially if you're a Tarantino fan. Check it out because it is really fun and really good.
Final word.